Okay, the 14th of May, Rabbi Levitt, Pele Yoetz. Where is everybody?
Hope they're not having trouble with their computers.
Yeah, I saw Roy here. I know he's around today. I don't know what's going on with him, but I haven't
Okay.
seen Meir for a couple of days. Not sure what he's
Mayor
doing.
was here. Oh, he was here Yom Kippur. He wasn't here on Erev Shabbos.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so we're on 420.
We're on 420, yes.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, right at the very bottom.
Yes.
There is another great device and strategy. It is the statement of our sages. Persons should always engage in Torah and mitzvahs, even not for their own not
Who I can't hear. You're fading in and out.
okay, I am. I've been having trouble today. I'm not sure why. Let me put the microphone over here. How's that better?
Oh, yeah, that's much better.
Okay, so a person should engage in Torah not for its own sake. From this, he'll come to engage for its own sake. An evil inclination sees a person learning Torah not for its own sake, but excuse me, in order to earn a good reward for his toil. He abandons him and says, "This is one of ours." This person is not serving Hashem, but serving himself, for he works for his own benefit. The esoteric nature of the Torah is such that it is a spice unto the evil inclination. The mitzvot of Hashem are pure to light one's eyes. Of learning wrong for the wrong reason, he will come to learn it for his own sake. Behold, as such, it is good for a person to calculate the reward for a mitzvah, as if man stands opposite him and gives him a specific number of zuzim in his hand for each good thing that he does, for each word of Torah that he learns. These kinds of strategies a person must undertake to wage war with his evil inclination. Perhaps he will be able to drive him away from him. Hashem helps a person who comes to be purified, and he will be his might.
Okay, very good. So here we got a Gemara in Sukkim, 50b. Let's take a look at that
Let
Gemara.
me go get it.
How you doing, Alan? Yeah, we started the meeting too long ago. Okay, here's Roy entering the waiting room, and I just got a phone call from Alan.
Great.
And I think he needs you to send him away. Yeah.
All right, let me do that.
Thank you. Disco mitzvahs.
Name.
Good morning, Rabbi Levitt.
Good morning, Roy. How you doing?
Baruch Hashem, thank you. You sound like there's a few of you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
More the better.
Hmm?
What? Maybe I'll use a different microphone.
I suppose so. There's a few. I suppose.
Is that better?
I think so. You have to say.
Yeah.
Have to say something more than a few words.
Okay, so we're on the Pele Yoetz, page 420 on the bottom. He's quoted a Gemara here in Psakim 50b. Oh, 50b. Oh, so I
All right. I'll go and get it. That sounds very good now.
okay, good.
All right. So I'll go and I think I've got Pesachim.
Okay.
Okay, I sent
50B.
Alan the link.
Great. So we'll be hoping to see Alan very soon. Okay, let's take a look at this more over here.
Okay, I found it.
Okay, where?
50B2, right-hand column, last paragraph. So in the Hebrew, it's just before the white lines.
52. 52B.
Oh yeah, I see. Okay.
Sorry, on the left-hand column.
52B2, right-hand column, last paragraph. The Gemara reconciles the two verses.
50.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is talking about a mitzvah, not
50B.
in Torah. Oh, it's the next. Yeah, it's the same place. 50B2, very last line of the page.
And all of here in the second verse,
Here's Alan.
those are performing, and this accords with the dictum of Rav Yehuda.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got it. What accords? What are we saying?
Okay, let's take a look at this Gemara over here for a moment. From the place that it starts, Rava has a question over here. Rava Rami. Rava actually posed a contradiction.
So he just went back up a little bit, Roy. He's on 50B2, right-hand column, second paragraph.
Yeah, thank you. I've got that. Thank you. Wow.
So Rava said like this. We have a pasuk in Tehillim. The pasuk in Tehillim says, "Ki gadol al shamayim chazdecha, v'ad shechakim amitecha." We have that pasuk. Then we have another pasuk, also in Tehillim. Ki gadol me'al hashamayim chazdecha. Okay, so he doesn't explain what his question is. The only way we know it's a question is because the Gemara says Rami.
Mhm.
Let's try to understand what the question is all about over here. Well, let's okay. While we're at it, let's try to understand it. You can see that the answer is Hakate said, how do these two psukim go together? Kan ba'osin lishma, kan ba'osin shelo lishma. This pasuk is talking about the person is doing mitzvahs lishma, and this pasuk is talking about person is doing mitzvahs shelo lishma. Okay, so let's see. From the pasuk, the first pasuk, Ki gadol al shamayim chazdecha v'ad shachakim amitecha. Maybe Rashi helps us out over here. What does it have to do, b'chlal, with doing mitzvahs? Would seem to have nothing to do with mitzvahs. I don't know. Rashi over here, Dibur Maskil Osin Lishma. Pretty much, actually, it's about 5-6 lines above the where Rav Rami in the Gemara. Rashi says Osin Lishma. I believe that's the right place. Me'al Shamayim. Osin Lishma is Me'al Shamayim, above the Shamayim. Ushalo Lishma is Ad L'Shamayim. Okay, that's the difference. One pasuk says, Gadol Ad Shamayim Chazdecha. Hashem, your chesed is up until the Shamayim. Then the other pasuk says, Gadol Ki Gadol Me'al Shamayim Chazdecha. It's Me'al Shamayim. So that's even above the Shamayim, Me'al Shamayim. So, yeah, right. Yeah, when you think about it, the two psukim seem to be in direct contradiction to one another. Is Hashem's chesed ad l'shamayim, or is Hashem's chesed me'al hashamayim, above the shamayim? So the Gemara says here, this pasuk which is talking about that Hashem's chesed is me'al shamayim, that's talking about somebody who is osin lishma. He does mitzvahs lishma. He does the mitzvah because it's a mitzvah. And the other person, osin shelo lishma, he does mitzvahs because shelo lishma, for ulterior motives. And so the chesed from that is only ad l'shamayim. And okay, so if you'll ask, what does it have to? It doesn't seem to be that the pasuk has anything to do with Torah observance. It has to do with Hashem's chesed.
Why would he give the chesed? For what reason then? Wouldn't it be for Torah learning?
I would have thought that Hashem gives chesed because he wants to do chesed. Do you do chesed with somebody because he did a mitzvah?
No, you're not supposed to.
You do it because it's chesed. Do
Yeah.
chesed. So that itself is a difficult question. Why does the pasuk talk about? In other words, what we're understanding over here is that the chesed that Hashem does is that He gives us schar for our mitzvahs, and so the chesed in one pasuk is ad l'shamayim. It only reaches up to the shamayim, but no further. So that's referring to mitzvahs that are done shalom lishma. But still, that's a pretty good chesed. Hashem does chesed with a person ad l'shamayim for mitzvahs that are done shalom lishma, for ulterior motives. So that's pretty good. And the other pasuk that says me'al shamayim, Hashem's chesed is me'al shamayim, is even higher than the shamayim. It reaches above the shamayim. Whatever that means, I don't know. I thought the shamayim is the highest place, but it's in a place which is even above the shamayim. That's for mitzvahs that's referring to the schar that Hashem pays for mitzvahs that are done for the sake of the mitzvah itself. Person does the mitzvah not in order to receive good things as a result of it in this world or even in the next world, but he does it because it's a mitzvah, because that's what Hashem told him to do. That's the highest level. That's lishma. He a tremendous schar. He gets much more schar. Okay, so that's what this is saying over here. Now, then the Gemara continues, and it says, Kidder Rabbi Yehuda. And this, what Rava said, seems like Rava asked the question and he answered his own question also. That what Rava is saying over here about schar for mitzvahs, shalom lishma, and for lishma, that accords with Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Rav, La'olam Yasok Adam B'Torah U'B'Mitzvahs, Afal Pi Shalom Lishma, Shemitoch Shalom Lishma Bo Lishma. Wow. Now we have another. Now you go on another detective case over here. What does the statement of Yehuda have to do with what Rava just got through saying? Rava just got saying that yes, you get tremendous schar even for mitzvahs that are shalom lishma, and for mitzvahs that are lishma, you even get incomparable amounts. It's me'al shamayim. Okay, but you do get tremendous schar even for mitzvahs that are done shalom lishma. And the Gemara says, and that is like what Rabbi Yehuda said. What did Rabbi Yehuda said? Rabbi Yehuda said a person should never la'olam yasok. He should always endeavor to do mitzvahs, learn Torah and do mitzvahs, even though he's doing them for ulterior motives, not for the sake of the mitzvah itself. Why? Shemitok shalom lishma bo lishma. Because as a result of getting involved in doing mitzvahs, even shalom lishma, it will bring him to lishma. It will bring him to doing them lishma. So the question is that I'm asking, what's the kesher? What is what Rava is saying? What's the common denominator between what Rava is saying and what Rabbi Yehuda is saying? Because the Gemara is saying there's a common denominator over here. Because the Gemara is saying, Ukada Rabbi Yehuda. That's what Rabbi Yehuda said. What's the common denominator between Rava and Rabbi Yehuda?
Mm-hmm. Doing a mitzvah either way.
What's that, Roy?
Doing a mitzvah for whatever, either way.
He should do the mitzvah even though it's shalol lishma. So that will accord with goes well with what Rava said. Rava said that even though doing a mitzvah lishma is the schar that Hashem pays is me'al hashemayim, but even for a mitzvah that is done shalol lishma, Rava says that the pasuk says Hashem gives chesed, which we're interpreting as schar for the mitzvah, ad l'shamayim. That sounds like how far is the shamayim away from us? Seven rikiyas. That's also part of the shamayim. Each rikiyah is 500 years of. Well, they didn't have a Boeing 777, but they did have a donkey and a carriage. It took them 500 years to get. Gemara says from one rikiyah to the next. So it's way up there. And imagine. That's what is given, according to Rava, for a mitzvah that is done for ulterior motives. So don't make light of mitzvahs that people do for ulterior motives, especially yourself. And that's what Rabbi Yehuda is saying. Rabbi Yehuda is saying, don't refrain from doing that mitzvah because, I'm not, I'm just doing it, not really for the sake of the mitzvah. I'm doing it for ulterior motives. No, always do the mitzvah. So the really big thing that comes out over here from what Rava says is that doing mitzvah shalol lishma gets tremendous reward. Now, if it wasn't, if somebody would want to come along and say, oh, somebody that does mitzvahs for ulterior motives, that's hardly a mitzvah. Yeah, do you ever hear somebody say such a thing like that? Oh, he's not going to get reward from that. He's going to get punished for doing a mitzvah like that. Well, you see over here very clearly from the Gemara, from what Rava says, he's going to get tremendous schar. We have no idea the amount of schar that he's getting. Now, bear in mind, he does have to do the mitzvah. I would imagine that what it means over here is that he has to do the mitzvah because, there is a certain element that the reason that he's doing the mitzvah is because he knows that it's a mitzvah. He's not just doing it because he thinks that it's the right thing to do. He's doing it because it's a mitzvah. Of course, it's the right thing to do, but he's doing it because it's a mitzvah. There's got to be some element of him doing it that that he knows that this is a mitzvah. And if you'll ask why is he doing this mitzvah, so he'll say, really, because I want to have good parnasa, I want to have health, I want to have nachas for my children, I want to have a happy life, et cetera, et cetera. All those things are very nice things, and it's all shalol lishma. All shalol lishma. What's the reason that we do mitzvahs? Because Hashem said so. Hashem said so. That's why we do them. That's called lishma.
What if a person is not religious? He's a tinochet shanishba, and he does things because he wants to be a good person, and he does mitzvahs in that regard. Like he gives charity, for example.
Right.
Not because Hashem said so, because he doesn't. It's not that he doesn't believe in Hashem. He's not an atheist. He just doesn't know anything. Yeah. So right. he gives charity because he wants to be a good person. You're saying he doesn't qualify. He doesn't get any reward for that.
I'm not sure what the story is with that. I'm not sure. Certainly, we know that somebody who gets in the custom of doing mitzvahs with the right guidance, he could come to doing the mitzvah, even if it's not lishma, but at least because it's a mitzvah, right? We're saying that a person has to make sure that he does the mitzvah. He has to have in mind that when he's doing the mitzvah, oh, I'm doing the mitzvah that Hashem commanded me to do, and I'm aware of the fact that in other words, I want to be Makayim this mitzvah that Hashem commanded. That's why when we put on talis, we put on tefillin, even before we say Krishma, we even though we can't talk before we say the Krishma, like we can before we put on talis and tefillin, we verbalize the fact that we're doing what we're doing right now in order to fulfill a mitzvah. And by Krishma, we just mentally think to ourselves, maybe we want to write it down in our siddur. There's many siddurim that some siddurim at least, it says, now it's time to have in mind to fulfill the mitzvah midaraisa of Krishma. So you think about that for a moment before you say the Krishma, and that makes that mitzvah that you're doing l'shem mitzvah. So a commandment, Hashem commands us to do something. So in other words, the question is, if we just happen to do that mitzvah, the physical act, the words that need to be said, but we're not doing it necessarily because Hashem commanded us to do it. Is that recalled that we're doing the mitzvah? Because when we see that when we step up to the plate to do a mitzvah, we say, Hareni bolakayim mitzvahs bori, shitzivani, behold, now I am about to fulfill the mitzvah that Hashem commanded me to put on a talis, put on tefillin. So there's a consciousness that the reason that we're doing this action is to fulfill Hashem's mitzvah. So that's the idea is to fulfill the Ratzon Hashem. So you're asking, can a person fulfill the Ratzon Hashem by doing the action which he's doing really only because of the fact that he thinks that that's what should be done?
Right.
I would imagine that there are opinions that hold that there is a mitzvah that's performed, because it is the action. It's the action. But I mean, really, what we need to do is we would need to see over here. This question, I believe, is really the Mishnah Brewer goes into this a bit in his discussion about the halachas of saying Krishma. He goes over there. It's really the Shulchan Aruch. This is in the Shulchan Aruch says there's two different views about mitzvahs tzrichas kavana, mitzvahs einot tzrichas kavana. That's really the place to look. If you want to get a Mishnah Berurah, Chelik Aleph, that's where it's going to be. So I think what over there it says is that, if I remember correctly, mitzvah tzrichas kavana, in other words, kavana over there is referring to the kavana to be makayim, the mitzvah of Hashem. That's what it means, kavana. We're doing this act of we're saying these words of Krishma in order to fulfill the mitzvah in the Torah that Hashem commanded us to say Krishma. So over there is your discussion over there.
Right.
It's yeah. So that's for another time if you want to delve into that. Okay. It's interesting over here because the way the Pele Yoetz explains this statement in the Gemara in Pesachim, person should engage in mitzvahs even not for their own sake, because it will come to he'll come as a result of doing mitzvahs even not for their own sake, to do them do them for their own sake. And it's interesting that he brings it over here in the entry of takbulos. These are strategies to help a person do Torah and mitzvahs and beat the Yetzer Hara. That's basically what this entry is all about. Being able to do Torah and mitzvahs and not have the Yetzer Hara prevent him from doing them, because he says that is what the Yetzer Hara tries to do. He tries to prevent a person from doing Torah and mitzvahs. So over here he says that a person who's learning Torah not for its own sake, but in order to get a good reward for his toil. What does it say in the Hebrew? Yeah, exact translation. In order to receive a reward for this activity that he's doing. So then the Yetzer Hara abandons the person. In other words, he leaves him alone. That's a good thing. If the Yetzer Hara leaves you alone, that's a very good thing. Humaniach v'omer, he says, Zeh bishalanu. Oh, this person, he's one of us. I like this guy. Ein zeh oved es Hashem ela oved es atzmo. He's not really serving Hashem. He's serving himself. Why is he serving himself? He's doing a mitzvah, no? He's putting on he's saying, here, Hashem, I'm here to do your mitzvah. I'm here to fulfill the mitzvah that you commanded me to do. And I would like to, and of course, I would like to receive reward for it. And I would like to, so can we say the Yetzer Hara leaves him alone because he says, oh, this person, he's one of us. He's not serving Hashem, he's serving himself. It's very strong words over here. And at the end, he says, he says, kazos betakbulos yasa milchama im Yetzer Hara. Didn't he say, doesn't everybody want to get reward for the Torah and the mitzvahs that they do? He says over here, he says, Tov legever, she'mechashev schar mitzvah. Kilu ish omed kenegdo, unosin lo zuzim biyado, al kol davar toiv, al kol teva midivrei Torah, kach v'kach zuzim. Very faithful translation over here we have. He says look, it's a very good thing for a person to think about to calculate the reward that there is for a mitzvah. And imagine, if you will, a person that's standing opposite him, and he's giving him money in his hand for each word of Torah that he learns. So, how do we understand this?
It's a struggle that is necessary for some people in order to get to a purer relationship with Hashem and the mitzvahs.
Right. Exactly. Roy got it. That's exactly what he's saying, Roy. He's saying, do employ this method of doing Torah and mitzvahs shalom lishma. That's exactly what the Pele Yoetz is saying.
Someone coming soon?
And even though the Yetzer Hara is going to say, oh, we're going to leave this guy alone because he's one of us. We see he's not serving Hashem. He's serving himself. He's got his eyes on the gelt. He's got his eyes on the reward. He doesn't have his eyes on the mitzvah, on serving Hashem. And the Pele Yoetz says, yeah, and let him halavai that he should continue to do that. because why? Because now we got a good question. Why? And the Pele Yoetz has a great answer to that question. The Pele Yoetz says, because this is the segula. That's the word that they use in the Hebrew for this translation, the esoteric nature. I don't know what that means, but we all know what a skula is. Everybody's looking for skulas. And the Pele Yoetz here is telling us what's the best skula in the world is to do Torah and mitzvahs. That's the skula. And even if it's shalom lishma, it's a skula to do Torah and mitzvahs shalom lishma because mitok shalom lishma bo lishma. Because it's a tremendous thing that apparently it would seem that the kedusha, there is kedusha in such mitzvahs, because it's going to transform the person. And even though he's doing it for his own, for the sake of his own benefit, the kedusha of the mitzvah will transform him, and he'll come to be close to Hashem and endeavor to do the mitzvahs because Hashem commanded him to do them, in order to fulfill the Ratzon Hashem, because he loves Hashem so much, because he sees that Hashem is giving him such tremendous reward for the mitzvahs that he's doing. And he feels it, and it goes into his bones. And that's the skula of Torah, that it's a tavlin li'etz hara. The Yetzer Hara wants to prevent the person from doing mitzvahs. But over here, he explains that the Yetzer Hara won't prevent this person from doing these mitzvahs that are shalom lishma. He'll say, let him do such mitzvahs all day long. He doesn't regard it as service of Hashem. But the Gemara tells us that, and the Pele Yoetz is pointing out to us that, yeah, that's exactly what you got to do. Do all the Torah mitzvahs shalom lishma that you can, because doing those mitzvahs like that, they must be that they have kedusha, and they're going to transform a person to do them ultimately, eventually, in order to fulfill the Ratzon Hashem, to do the mitzvah lishma. That now we'll want to do the mitzvah because we want to fulfill the mitzvah. That's why we're doing the mitzvah. Why are you doing that mitzvah? Because it's a mitzvah. Oh, then he gets then he gets Hashem's chesed me'al hashamayim, even above above the shamayim. Okay, tremendous. See, it's a tremendous chesed that Hashem tells the Yetzer Hara to think like that. Because I would have thought that the Yetzer Hara would think to himself, this is not a good thing that he's doing Torah and mitzvahs shalom lishma, because I know that it's going to end up with lishma. I got to prevent him from doing that. I got to cut him off at the pass. And the Yetzer Hara lets him go right along. That itself, I think, is chesed of Hashem. He gives us an opportunity to get started with Torah and mitzvahs. Okay. Right. Okay. And a round of applause for page 420. The last two lines. They're worth a round of applause. Hooray. And now we go to Talmidei Chachamim. We ask Roy to continue the reading. 421.
Talmidei Chachamim, Torah scholars. Torah scholars need to be distinguished and separated in their matters. Everyone who sees them should recognize that they are offspring blessed by God. They need to conduct themselves piously and fulfill all things of piety. Even if he wants to be lenient in a specific instance due to the need of the hour, he should not be lenient in front of common people, because they will learn from his misdeed, and not everyone understands his motivation, reason, and extenuating circumstances, and it will result in a desecration of God's name. This is like the statement of Reb Yochanan in Yoma 86a, who said, "For someone like myself, if I walk 4 cubits without Torah and tefillin due to the extenuating circumstances, and people are not aware and think that I do it because of indolence, That is a desecration of God's name. Rav said, for someone like myself, if I buy meat and do not pay right away, there is a desecration of God's name. Torah scholars have to be so careful to despise graft and gifts. That is, they should not pursue rich men to give them gifts or sell them merchandise cheaply. The Torah scholars should not buy on credit, and if they did, they should quickly pay. Besides the issue that if the owners sell it to them against their will and not against their will and not in their best interest, there is a taint of stealing in the transaction. See Sefer Hasidim, Siman 316. In the same way, if a person has pleasure from a meal which is insufficient for its owners, there's a further issue of the desecration of God's name, which is very severe. People will say, look at the Torah scholars who are so quick to spend money, and their whole objective and desire is to spend money. They do not know that the Torah scholars are very hard pressed for funds, and in this way they disparage them. What can be done about the assured ones who say that Torah scholars have made the Torah into a plough for ploughing, and they exploit the crown of Torah? With such things they will insult the angels of God, that is, the sages. In part, the truth is with them, for it is not good what the Torah scholars are doing. There is a taint of prohibition in it. Upon whom can we rely? Upon our Father in heaven. Let them get by with less in this world. It is good for them to engage in heavy work, even if it is not befitting their honor. For example, to be chazan or teacher of children in a place where this is possible. They should be satisfied with little. They should not be a burden on the wealthy people, and they should not desecrate God's name in public. Heaven forbid. It is better for a man to die of hunger and not be wicked before the omnipotent. They should not desecrate God's name. A person is discerned by his wallet. That is how he spends his money, like gold in the smelting pot. Those who seek God will not lack any good.
Okay, very good. So I see it's 11:31, so we'll call it for today. And Yashikoyak to everybody. We'll be back very soon.
Amen.
Okay, thank you.